ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. We continue with matters of Aqeedah, and we're almost done with the book of أعلام السنة المنشورة اعتقاد الطائفة المنصورة, or what is famously known as the 200 questions and answers in matters of Aqeedah. And the last, one of the last subjects that he talked about after mentioning the belief in the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. As we said, the book is in that particular order with many different masail or issues or matters of belief. The pillars of Al-Iman, the 6 pillars of Al-Iman, and you can basically, any matter of Aqeedah, you can have it under the 6 pillars of Al-Iman with the different branches of it. Or you think of the 6 pillars of Al-Iman as in the meaning of La ilaha illallah, and then believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the details of how to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sunnah versus Al-Bid'ah, and before that the Tawheed versus Al-Shirk. And then talked about the belief in the Sahaba radiallahu anhum since the Ummah split with regards to these issues, whether it's the Qadar, whether it's something with the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the belief in the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. So it was important for the people of knowledge to document this and to write the books of Aqeedah so that the truth will continue to be there and to be clear. And it's important that a Muslim would know his belief and not just to be asked and to answer. Even many people, when they're asked about what is your belief in the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, person is not able to answer in a comprehensive way. So we have to make sure that we, especially at the time that we live in, and especially for those who are concerned, is to study matters of Aqeedah, to study it, to try to memorize it. If you're asked what is your belief in details, we can talk about all these matters with very specific words. And always we use the words that is mentioned in the books of knowledge, because these words are very dangerous if you misplace them. Or if you try to talk about what you believe in, you can have words that has different connotations to it and so on. Right? So you'd find that sometimes people, they are emotional or they love the deen of Islam, but the way they would express what they believe is in a very disturbing way. So we have to basically get to know these terminologies and to get to know matters of belief this way. So after talking about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and they believe in them the proper way, then he talks about an issue that also the Ummah split with regarding to this matter of belief. So this is again matters of belief, and it's an issue that we should learn it and understand it. And applications of things, usually in all our affairs, we turn to the people of knowledge to ask and not to follow our own opinions and desires. So he says, مَا الْوَاجِبْ لِوَلَاةِ الْأُمُورِ, what is mandatory to be done to those who are in charge. وَلَاةِ الْأُمُورِ, those who are in charge of the affairs of the Muslims, the leaders of the Muslims. He says, and again this is a matter of belief because it's linked to either verses in the Quran or a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and we follow these texts. We don't follow our desires, what we feel or what we like. He says, الواجب لهم النصيحة بموالاتهم على الحق وطاعتهم فيه. What is mandatory for them is النصيحة. النصيحة, as we said before, it's a deed done by the heart. Your heart is concerned towards the subject of the nasiha. And this is why the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, الدين النصيحة. This deen is nothing but an-nasiha. To have this concern in your heart towards the subject of an-nasiha. What is the subject of the nasiha? As the Prophet ﷺ, he was asked, to who, O Prophet of Allah? He said, لله ولرسوله ولكتابه ولأئمة المسلمين وعامته. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to the Book of Allah, and to the leaders of the Muslims, and to the masses, to the common Muslims, so everyone. So what is the nasiha here? The heart is concerned, and as a result of that, the actions will be accordingly. So towards those who are in charge of the affairs of the Muslims, the heart should be full of this concern towards them, بِمُوَالَاتِهِمْ الْحَقِّ, to support them on matters of the truth. وطاعتهم في and to obey them in matters of the truth, to obey them in matters of goodness. وأمرهم به, and to order them, to advise them to do what is right and to follow the truth. وتذكيرهم برفق, and to remind them with gentleness. Because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith were mentioned, and even in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Musa alayhi salam to go to Fir'aun. And Fir'aun is a disbeliever, and not just a disbeliever, but calling people to worship him. And still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he ordered Musa alayhi salam and his brother Qarun to go to him, he ordered them to speak with gentleness. فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Say to them, لَيِّنًا, soft. Speak to them a soft speech. Maybe he will be reminded. Right? So this is to Fir'aun. So how about a Muslim? How then the reminder towards the Muslim should be? Even if he is a Muslim, zalim, fasiq, transgressor, committing major sins, a Muslim, right? Even if he has all these evil characteristics, right? He has to be advised with gentleness, and not to think that it's out of bravery, is to humiliate him or to say things bad about him, thinking that this is how the word of the truth should be spoken. But there's a difference between leniency and being cowards or being humiliated or being compromiser. No, saying the truth, even if the leader doesn't like it, right? With certain means. It's as the Prophet ﷺ, as we would mention that also in details, the Prophet ﷺ said that the best of jihad is kalimatu haqq inda sultanin jair. The best jihad is to say the word of truth by an unjust ruler or leader. And how is that to be done? Is that inda means by him, right? So when a person, a big difference between causing fitan among the people and between going to someone and you tell him the truth on his face, and if as a result of that he will kill you, this is the best struggle, that you said the word of truth in front of this tyrant, for example, and just especially if it's between you and him. And this is what is understood. None of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they got into the members and they started accusing the rulers because of they did that or did this, unless it's in a context that doesn't cause any disturbance and fitness and so on. So تذكيرهم برفق, and to remind them with gentleness. والصلاة خلفهم, and to pray behind them. If they lead the salah, you pray behind them. Why? Because they're Muslims. And the prayer is behind any Muslim, right? We should not pick and choose, otherwise this makes a person among the people of deviation. Unless a person is a non-Muslim, and he has for example, a clear bid'ah that takes him outside the fold of Islam. So the rulers, you pray behind them, وَالْجِهَادِ مَعْهُمْ, and to fight with them, even if they, whatever the bad characteristics they have. وَأَدَاءِ الصَّدَقَاتِ إِلَيْهِمْ, if they ask for zakah, is to be given the zakah to them, for them to distribute it. وَالصَّبْرُ عَلَيْهِمْ, and to be patient with regards to them. وَإِنْ جَارُوا, to be patient even if they transgress, even if they take the matter for them only, right? They don't want to give it to anyone else, right? To be patient. And patience is not a negative characteristic for the believers, it's a positive one. Why? Because all of what has been mentioned, it will be done with patience. And the person will not compromise his deen and will continue to enjoy good and forbid evil and so on. وَتَرْكِ الْخُرُوجِ بِالسَّيْفِ عَلَيْهِ, and to abandon or to leave al-khuruj, or to oust them, right, with a sayf, with the sword, meaning like what they call it, coup, or the people when they don't do coup, right? They just revolting against the rulers, right? Which is the big fitna that is keep on occurring from one time to the other, and it does not bring anything but more fitan and more bloodshed and more chaos. This is how the ways of shaitan to do, and Muslims keep on every time falling into the same trap, thinking that since it worked in Romania, so it has to work in any other country, right? Or since it worked in France and the French Revolution, then it has to work in they're going by the means of the people that do not follow wahy, do not follow revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their set of rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treat them in this life is totally different than the ones that took the covenant upon them to say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It's supposed to follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your superiority or otherwise, it's all governed by these texts from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. مَا لَمْ يُظْهِرُ كُفْرًا بَوَاحًا. When is it permissible to revolt or to and so on, unless they show clear kufr. كُفْرًا بَوَاحًا. Bawahan meaning clear, there's no doubt. Maybe or maybe not, no, then the original ruling, it's not permissible. Even if he is the worst tyrant and oppressor and so on, he's a Muslim or a kafir. If he is a Muslim, then it's not permissible. If he's a kafir and the kufr is very clear, right, then it becomes permissible, right, and the permissibility of things, it depends on the capability of the people, right? So if they're not capable, and if they will do this, it will cause a greater fitna, then it becomes not permissible for them, not the revolting in itself, but because it would lead to something worse, right? So in that case, they shouldn't, and that's why people, if they don't follow the people of knowledge, they just follow their own desire, and they don't have a head, right? Then it's all means of chaos, right? So we don't need to wait and see the effect of things. We have it in our deen, right? And this is as a rule, that the ruling, it depends on the outcome of it. If it's something that is permissible, if it's something mandatory, you don't care about the outcome. But if it's mandatory for you to do something, then what if things happen? It doesn't matter, it's an obligation. But if it's something permissible, right, then you see the outcome of it. Like the enjoining good and forbidding evil. If there's an evil and you're supposed to forbid it, but if you forbid it with your hand, right, more evil will occur. So the goal of it is to eliminate the evil or to decrease it if you don't have means, right? But you know for sure that if you do something, the evil will increase. They don't say, I did my part. No, you increase the evil. It's not approving the evil. Some people, they get it mixed up. They think when you say this, you're approving the evil. No, you're not approving the evil, and you should speak about the evil. The evil is to be evil, right? And it's supposed to be forbidden and so on. But for those also that are trying to change the evil, they are responsible, and they would fall into a sin if they change the evil to a bigger evil. So they have to have the knowledge, and they have to make the right decision by asking the people of knowledge, and they should not do something that will bring more evil. And there are many evidences of this. So these are principles, and that's why the knowledge of the deen of Islam is just a word here or there. So unless the leader is clear disbeliever, then it's permissible if there is means of doing so. وَأَلَّا يُغَرُّ بِالثَّنَاءِ الْكَاذِبِ عَلَيْهِ. And وَأَنْ يُدْعَى لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاحِ وَالتَّوْفِيقِ. And that means you should not be deceiving them by praising them, lying and praising them. It doesn't mean that when you're supposed not to revolt, it doesn't mean that you start praising them and how great they are. When you're lying because they're being tyrants and causing mischief and so on, right? It doesn't mean that some people also think that for you to be applying these as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, to be patient with regarding to the rulers and so on, that you have to praise them on the minbar and how great it is, and mashallah, this is the best situation that we have ever. This is lying, right? So, but at the same time, you don't call people to revolt and so on if they are Muslims, and if they are not, still matters according to its outcome. وَأَنْ يُدْعَ لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاحِ وَالتَّوْفِيقِ. And to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them to be upright and to guide them to do what is right. And what's wrong with that? And that's another issue, that sometimes when if a person is the leader, is a tyrant and so on, how can you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him? You want to only make dua against him, because he did so much, just make dua against him. If it's between you and in your room, make dua against him, it's up to you. If a person is mazloom, if a person is oppressed, there is nothing between the mazloom and the oppressed and his dua and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not haram to make dua against them if it's something on your own. But many of the dua that is being said, it's not really dua, it's a mean of changing people. Like the dua in the qunut, in the salah. Some of it, and of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what the intentions, is to get people excited. It's not about the dua asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for things. But I heard that with my own ears in more than one incident. Like I remember one time it was Salatul Dhuhr, a few years back. And I was in a certain place, back home. And the Imam made dua qunut in Salatul Dhuhr. There was nothing major happening. I didn't know what's going on. Because if there is something, a calamity or something, not a calamity like an earthquake or a storm, or something that, some transgressor killed or something like that, then you can make dua in the qunut in the 5-day salah. Prophet ﷺ did that. But there was nothing majorly happening, right? So after the salah, I went and asked him, why did you make dua qunut? He said, to get the people, fired up. We need to do something. I said, fired up, this is what the dua in the salah is supposed to be done for, is to get people excited. It's he's concerned about how the people, they don't care about how Muslims are and things like this, so he wants them to get excited. This is not what the Prophet ﷺ did. You can talk to them after the salah, but not to use the matters of ibadah for what is not supposed to be. So anyway, but definitely, as Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and Fudayl ibn Iyad and many of the early generations of Islam, they said the same statement. If there was a da'wah mustajaba, if there was any da'wah, dua for me that is accepted, لَصَرَفْتُهَا إِلَى السُّلْطَانِ, I would make it for the one in charge, the sultan, the leader. Why? Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted your dua, which is better? Or Allah make him upright, may Allah guide him, right? Or may Allah destroy him, right? If he's upright and guided, many benefits will occur as a result of this, right? But again, if a person is oppressed and he's tortured and so on, he's not ordered that he has to make dua for him. No, I can make dua against him. It's up to me. If I'm mazloom, right? It's up to me. But it doesn't have to be like I go around to people and saying, getting more fitan and so on. But it's, again, the best definitely is to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the upright of things. Now, after saying this, what is the evidence of that? Because these things can be, opinionated. Everybody can have his opinion of this. People would say, but it doesn't work this way. You're calling for this or that. Al-Adillah, again, since we follow the Quran and the way the Prophet ﷺ and the early generations of Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنكُمْ. Who you will believe, أطيعوا الله, obey Allah. وأطيعوا الرسول, and obey the messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وأولي الأمر منكم, and those who are in charge among you. And when we talked about this ayah before, that the ta'ah or obedience is unconditional to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unconditional to the messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because the messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he does not speak from his desire, he speaks from revelation. So the obedience of the messenger of Allah is the obedience of Allah. مَنْ يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. Whoever obeys the messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, indeed he has obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أولي الأمر منكم, the verb أطيعوا, the verb obey, was not repeated in the ayah. Why? Because their obedience is conditioned. It's conditioned if it's in matters of obedience to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if they order people to commit sins, or to kill, or to this, then it's not permissible. Even if they kill you, and be patient. There's no obedience. So their obedience is not like this unconditional. If they ordered for the person to commit a sin, he should be patient. Unless it's a necessity and it's ordered on his neck, then there's certain rulings with this. So their obedience is mandatory. If they order with something that is good, and that's why even with the regulations that has nothing or not contradicting with matters of deen, the ulama, like Shaykh rahimahullah, for example, when he was asked about breaking the laws of traffic, that's haram. It's a sinful act. It's not against the deen to have the red light and this and that, right? And they did it for a reason, right? It's not to oppress the people, right? There's a reason behind it. So you have to obey these rules. So if you don't, you're committing a sin. And there's implications if something happens as a result of that. If you if you break a red light and you kill someone by mistake, there's rulings in the deen, right? Then there's the diyah and so on. So it's very important to understand that. And also, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Isma'u wa ati'u wa idha ta'ammar alaykum 'abd." Hadith in Bukhari and others. اسمعوا وأطيعوا. Listen and obey, even if there's a slave in charge of you. Even if there's a slave in charge of you. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: من رأى من أميره شيئا يكرهه فليصبر عليه فإنه من فارق الجماعة شبرا فمات إلا مات ميتة جاهلية. Whoever sees from his amir, from his leader, something that he hates, he should be patient with him, because whoever depart or leaves the jama'ah of the Muslims, one handspan and he dies, unless he dies in a jahiliyyah death. So a person should be with the jama'at al-Muslimin and not to cause disturbance and so on. Again, it doesn't mean compromising one's deen. And the meaning of فَلْيَصْبِرْ, meaning to be patient, it means do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not obey Him in this, but you continue to consider Him as your leader and so on, and to be patient with Him and so on. وقال عبادة بن الصامت رضي الله عنه: دعانا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فبايعنا. Ibrahim Zidan said, the Prophet ﷺ called us to the deen of Islam and we gave him the pledge. فَكَانَ فِيمَا أَخَذَ عَلَيْنَا. One of the things that they gave the pledge to the Prophet ﷺ, when they gave the pledge, and بَايَعْنَا عَلَى السَّمْعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ فِي مَنْشَاتِنَا وَمَكْرَهِنَا وَعُسْرِنَا وَيُسْرِنَا وَأَثَرَةٍ عَلَيْنَا. That we gave the pledge to the Prophet ﷺ to listen and to obey. مَنْشَاتِنَا, in times of our the things that we like. And the things that we hate, we still would listen and obey. And in times of difficulties and at times of ease. وَأَثَرَةٍ عَلَيْهِمْ. And at times when the matter is taken away from us when we deserve it. It's someone that does not deserve to be the leader. And someone else is. Be patient. He has the means, right? He has the power and the evidence of that he is the Amir and you're not. Right? So either you will cause fitna or you just be patient. Plus, to seek al-imara, to seek leadership, it's forbidden. Right? So it's forbidden for a person to say, no, I deserve it. And you go forward. It's a regret in the day of judgment, and whoever wants it, whoever seeks it, it is not to be given to him. People, they have to have a leader. But they need one leader. They don't need million leaders. Right? So it's not part of your duty as a Muslim to want to be the leader of all people. Right? This is something that you push away from yourself. But how then it's to be given is to be given to the one that deserves it, and not to be sought by someone. Because again, this is as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, مَا مِنْ أَمِيرٍ عَشَرًا. There's no Amir of 10 people unless he would come in the day of judgment in chains till he gets himself free. Right? Although everybody's innocent unless proven otherwise, any Amir comes in the day of judgment, he has to free himself with, of course, being just and so on. So if وَأَثَرَةٍ عَلَيْنَا, if you find that they have taken the matter when you deserve it, وَأَلَّا نُنَازِعَ الْأَمْرَ أَهْلًا, and we do not fight or try to take the matter from those who are or those who have it, إِلَّا أَن تَرَوْا كُفْرًا بَوَاحًا عِنْدَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ فِي بُرْهَانٍ, unless you would see in them clear kufr, that you have clear evidence from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not a doubtful matter. It has to be clear evidence of this. So the matter is very precise by the words of the Prophet ﷺ, and it should be a matter again of belief. And we should not try to analyze things based on these ahadith. In the level that we are in, we're studying a matter of belief. Then in applying it in our life, leave this to the people of knowledge. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet ﷺ said, إن أمر عليكم عبد مجدع أسود يقودكم بكتاب الله فاسمعوا له وأطيعوا. If أمر عليكم, he becomes the Amir on you, the leader of you. Abd, a slave. Mujaddع, that means he has the cut that they used to do to the slaves. A black slave that is, having cut on his face and so on. He's leading you بكتاب الله, by the book of Allah. Then listen to him and أطيعوا, and obey him. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, على المرء المسلم السمع والطاعة فيما أحب وكره إلا أن يؤمر بمعصية فإن أمر بمعصية فلا سمع ولا طاعة. That it is mandatory, incumbent upon the Muslim is to listen and to obey in whatever he loves or whatever he hates. It's not depending on what you like only, even if you hate it. Unless you are ordered to do a sin, then if you're ordered to do a sin, there is no listening and there is no obedience with regards to that sin. وقال إنما الطاعة في المعروف. Ta'ah, to obey someone only in ma'ruf, matters of goodness. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن ضرب ظهرك وأخذ مالك فاسمع وأطع. He said عليه الصلاة والسلام, if he beat up your back and take your money, this is definitely not permissible, right? Still listen and obey. And the question is, does that mean the Prophet ﷺ is approving hitting someone on his back and torturing him and taking his money? Of course not, right? So when he says فَاسْمَعْ وَأَطِعْ, listen and obey, does that has any praise to those who are in charge? It has no praise to them. So when people are accused, if they listen and obey, that they are basically approving or they just praise them so much. No, this is, we're following the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and the order to be patient so that you don't cause fitan and mischief and bloodshed and so on. Plus, this is a personal issue. If he hits your back and take your money, be patient with that. Our goals in life is much higher than this. You seek the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't, as a result of that, make him even worse and worse, right? Because you don't have any means. And you still have to listen and obey for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the betterment that comes as a result of that. And وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم من خلع يدا من طاعة لقي الله يوم القيامة لا حجة له. Whoever takes away from himself the hand of obedience, that means he become disobedient and revolting against his leaders, he would meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment. No hujjah, there's no reason for, there's no excuse for him. The hujjah has been established against him. He has no excuse. وَمَنْ مَاتَ وَلَيْسَ فِي عُنُقِهِ بَيْعَ مَاتَ مِيتَةً جَاهِلِيًّا. And whoever dies and there is no bay'ah, no pledge in his neck, he would die as a jahiliyyah, or as the death of jahiliyyah. And this does not mean that you have to go shake the hands with someone to make bay'ah with. First of all, this bay'ah is not to anyone but the leader, the higher leader of a place, right? The ruler. Not to your sheikh or someone like that. Nobody ever said that. And this ruler, right, is to the bay'ah, if it's done, if it's only done to those who are the al-hil wal-aqd, the people of knowledge, and so on, and then the rest of the people, they just approve it. They don't have to stand in line and shake hands. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم من أراد أن يفرق أمر هذه الأمة وهو جميع فاضربوه بالسيف كائنا من كان. Whoever wants to split the matter of this ummah while it's all together, then hit him with the sword, and doesn't matter who he is. Meaning, if the ummah is all together, someone wants to split the ummah, right? And revolting and so on, in that sense, but he wants to, and when the ummah is all together, and he wants to split the ummah, the Prophet ﷺ said his punishment is to be killed no matter who he is. Of course, who to do this? Of course, those who are in charge. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم ستكون أمراء فتعرفون وتنكرون فمن عرف برئ ومن أنكر سلم ولكن من رضي وتابع. There will be leaders after me, right? You would know what good they do, and you would forbid what they do some good things and they do some bad things. فمن عرف برئ, right? Whoever knows what is good, he is free from blame, and whoever forbid the evil, he is safe. But the one that is pleased and follow, pleased with the evil that they do and follow, this is the one that is no good. قالوا أفلا نقاتلهم. They said to the Prophet ﷺ, should we then fight them? He said, لا ما صلوا. Do not do that as long as they are making their salah. So this as if explains the hadith of the kufr al-bawah, right? The disbelief. If they do not make salah, right, that means it's permissible then. Because this is what the Prophet ﷺ made as a criteria, not to fight them as long as they make in the salah. So if the salah has been established, then it is not permissible. And many of these hadith, and it's all authentic. Again, the matters of the affairs of the ummah and so on, this is not something to be given to each and every individual to decide for the matter on his own. It's something to be referred to as the people of knowledge, and to follow the text again from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and to think about the outcome of things. And again, going back, this is a matter of belief. If a person is a Muslim, then he is to be obeyed in ma'ruf and not to be obeyed in matters of sins. وستوب إن شاء الله at this point and continue next time if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save. وصلى الله وسلم على محمد وصحبه.